Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us this week on this week's edition of Tech Tip Tuesday. This week we're going to be in the engine room at VW Motorsports talking about how we contain the horsepower we're trying to make. But before we do that, I just want to say thanks again for tuning in and watching. Please like and share and leave any comments you have about anything we do here at VW Motorsports, whether it be about the car, about the work we do, about the horsepower we're trying to create. Whatever those questions are, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them because we love interaction with our fans and those who support us. I hope you enjoy this week's edition of Tech Tip Tuesday. Alright guys, for Tech Tip Tuesday, I just want to show you a couple ways of how we are holding the boost we are and making the power we're making on these VR6 engines. Most of the engines we get are 2000, 2001 range. We do the 12 valve stuff. They went further back to the early 90s, a little bit later the 2000s. We try to stick with the 12 valve MK4 series. They're just easier to find. So when we first built the car, we were running a stock junkyard motor, paid $150, $200 for it. And the only things we would change were the ARP head studs, the main studs, and the rod bolts. Everything else was the 130, 40, 50,000 mile bearings, rings, whatever the engine had on it is the way it went, other than these three changes we made with the ARP parts. But what I want to show you guys is the difference of then versus now. So this is an ARP replacement of a stock VR6 head stud. They torque around 80 foot-pounds of torque. Now we're running this head stud, which is also ARP, but you can obviously see a significant difference between the two of them in size. So this head stud can hold up to 115 pounds of torque, but we stop around 100 because the castings on the cast aluminum heads for the VR6 really can't take much more than that. So we stop at 100 pounds, and it's been sufficient so far. So that's the main thing we've changed as far as holding the head down and getting it to hold the 50 to 60 pounds of boost that we're applying on top end. Another thing that we have changed along the way is we have this would simulate a stock VR6 head gasket as far as the design. They come with a multi-layered 3-piece gasket. We started making the coppers and running coolant. But the problem with running coolant is this coolant passage here. This is a weak link in the head gasket. So you can see here you have about 1/4 inch of material between the cylinder pressure and the coolant. And as you can tell, it gives way. And when it gives way, that causes problems. When I did this here, this is the first time I did it. I'd been expecting it for quite a while and it really never happened. But it finally pushed it on launch. And when it did, it pushed the coolant, the pressure pushed coolant out on the track and got on the tires. This is when I just said, there's no more coolant. We're going methanol. We're going to keep it cool that way. It's just going to be safer. Because if this would happen further down track, I probably would have destroyed the car. Now this particular gasket you can see right here, we launched 2-step at 40 PSI. So this pushed out at 40 PSI of pressure on the launch. And that's around probably 58 to 6,000 RPM, 5,800 to 6,000. So with that design, we went a little bit further and we got rid of the coolant system and all the unnecessary holes. So now what we have is oil passage to the oil pan, oil passages, and room for the timing chain. Other than that, it's just cylinder head studs. That's all we have. And this, of course, right here is oil up to the head. And as you can tell, there's a ring around each one of these cylinders. And that's where we put an O-ring, stainless steel O-ring in the block and put a receiver groove in the head. So as you can see, the O-ring is actually pushing the copper up into the head and making a complete seal around each cylinder. And that allows us to have complete cylinder pressure closed off. So if we want to apply 50, 60 pounds, whatever we want to do on top end, we know it'll hold. So that's two things that we've changed versus the stock VR6. I just want to share that with you guys. A lot of people ask, how are you making so much power? Well, you have to contain it. And part of the lessons we've learned and the research we've done just by trial and error pretty much, when we see a problem, we figure out how to fix it. And these are two of the things that we have come across that really have helped us to improve our performance and be able to have a car that's durable and dependable. And as a driver, that's important because I don't want to be thinking about what if this or that happens once I'm in the car suit up ready to go. So that's all we have for this edition of Tech Tip Tuesday. I hope you enjoy it. Any more questions, comments, please put them down below. And don't forget to like and share. Appreciate it.